Yeah, it's your man Diggy Smalls from the Chaos Crew, the best commentator on all of YouTube. Yeah, I said it, but you know I'm right. Just like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my sights. What's going down, everybody? It's your man Pro Diggy from the Chaos Crew, but you could call me Diggy if you like. And as you can tell by that little intro, this is going to be kind of a serious, kind of a touchy subject type commentary or whatever. And, you know, I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea about me. I'm going to say some things that maybe some people might not agree with, or people might think is a little bit insensitive or things like that. I want you to understand before I talk about this that I think bullying is ridiculous. And I think, you know, bullies should get their fucking asses beat consistently on like a daily basis. Someone bigger and badder than them should fucking torment them the way that they torment these other kids that they find weaker or geekier or not as cool or whatever the fuck it is that makes them feel like it's okay for them to pick on these people. But there's also a different problem, and I believe the problem lies within the parents and the teachers and the counselors and things like that. And I actually did this commentary once, and I decided to start over and do it again because it was kind of long already, and there was more things that I wanted to say. So I'm probably going to break this into like 2, maybe even 3 parts. There was a Juiced podcast that we did very similar to this on this particular subject that lasted about an hour and a half or 2. So I could talk about this for a really long time, but I'm thinking that I'm probably going to make it into like a 2, maybe a 3-part commentary. And basically the bottom line is this as far as I look at it. Now, what brought me to even want to do this is just recently on Twitter there was something trending about, I forgot the kid's name, I actually wrote it down, but I don't feel like pulling out my notepad, but there was a boy who was, I guess, what's called a boy belieber, which I guess if you're a belieber, you're like a fan of Justin Bieber or whatever. So he was a boy belieber, and he ended up killing himself because people were making fun of him for being a boy believer. Now, I can't say that his decision was that's not the right way to handle things. I mean, granted, getting bullied and people talking shit about you and, making you feel bad and things like that, yes, that is really fucked up. I absolutely agree, and it can be very depressing, it can be very stressful, especially in a junior high or especially high school situation where popularity, it seems that high school is just one big fucking popularity contest, so if you're not popular, I mean, it's kind of like the end of your world as you know it. But as a kid, of course, when you grow up, you realize, fuck, shit, high school problems? Please let me go back to high school. I don't give a fuck. You can bully me like every day, all day, as long as I don't have to pay this rent and this electric bill and all this other shit I have to deal with as being an adult. But basically, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is what I noticed in, my dad's lifetime as far as in high school, my lifetime in high school or my generation, even my girlfriend's generation of high school and such. We were talking about it, and like nobody in my junior high or high school ever committed suicide. Nobody in her junior high or high school ever committed suicide over bullying. One kid killed himself in my high school, and it was over breaking up with a girl, which I don't think is a good fucking reason either. Don't get me wrong, that's a different subject, but no one ever killed themselves because of getting bullied. And when I say I'm pointing the blame at the parents and counselors and teachers and such, let me explain. When I was growing up, my parents gave me I think I was brought up very well, let's put it that way. I had a very good balance of knowing right and wrong. My parents would teach me, it's not polite to fuck with other people, don't be a bully, you don't just fuck with people for no reason, etc. But they also taught me that if someone is fucking with you, that you need to step up and defend yourself. Now, I'm not saying that these parents are 100% wrong or whatever. I don't know every detail of what happened. Okay, but as an overall big picture, it just seems like parents are raising their children to be kind of pussified now. They're not, their skin isn't as thick or as tough as it was like when I was a kid. George Carlin, brilliant, one of my favorite comedians, he said something that really kind of to me seems very true. He said back when he was a kid, he was like, if, a student, I mean, this isn't having to do with suicide, it had to do with, a kid going to school and killing a couple of classmates or whatever, but he had said, when that happened, they went right along with their arithmetic. 49 students minus 2 equals 47. He's like, nowadays when shit like that happens, the next day the school is overrun with grief counselors and psychologists and doctors and all kinds of things to help the kids cope with the things that happened and such or whatever. And it seems like kids are being very coddled and babied and like bubbled, like they're just in this bubble of like nothing in the world is bad. You don't have to worry about things, It just seems like kids are brought up nowadays to think that everything is like cupcakes and candy and pie and everything's sweet and delicious and wonderful and the world doesn't have any bad people in it or bad shit that happens. And it's clearly not the case. So, I mean, that's one thing that I can say about parents. Like, I seriously feel like they're allowing electronics to babysit their children for them. The kid's on Facebook, on Twitter, on MySpace, on his cell phone all the fucking time. And the parents have no clue what's going on in the kid's life. And then when he kills himself, they're like, I had no idea he was depressed or this or that or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah. He was in his room with the door shut, listening to music on Facebook and Twitter and shit all the time, and you weren't paying any attention to what was really going on in his life. When I was growing up, my parents knew that I was into skating, so they were into that with me. They were, fucking active in my school. They spoke to my teachers. They kept up with my grades. Like, they were involved in my life. They wanted to know what was going on in my life. And when I was acting different, they would be able to tell. But these parents, it seems like they're just letting electronics babysit their children, and then they have no clue what's going on in the child's life. You have to be a parent, period. That's why you had a child, was to be a parent. So you have to be a parent. You have to be responsible. You have to teach them how to defend themselves. You have to teach them that not everybody in the world is going to like them. And you have to be able to teach them rejection, because people get rejected. You can't go home and cry in your pillow for 3 hours every time something bad happens to you. Life is fucked up at times, and I don't think parents are really teaching their kids that. So I think I'm just going to stop it here. Like I said, I've got other things that I want to talk about, but I don't want it to run too long. So hopefully you guys enjoyed part 1. I'll be bringing you part 2 in the next probably like 2 days or so. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This has been your man Pro Diggy from the motherfucking Chaos Crew, but you can call me Diggy if you like. Don't forget, as always, to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my sights.